on It's Supernatural. As a young child, Earthquake Kelley was a master of witchcraft and voodoo. As he got older, his powers increased. He could cast spells, kill people by cursing them, and leave his own body at will. He soon died from a drug overdose and went to hell. See what brought Earthquake Kelley back to life and discover the amazing power that can bring people back from the dead.
Hello, Sid Roth here. Welcome to my world, where it's naturally supernatural. I mean, I don't know any other life. I wouldn't want to live any other life. My guest is a fourth-generation voodoo priest who died and went to hell. Before we get to that, Earthquake Kelley, how did you get the name Earthquake Kelley? Well, I see the earthquake part, but how'd you get that?
Well, I was, back in '83, I was competing for the '84 Olympics in Los Angeles, and there was a guy I was fighting for in the elimination bouts, and he was sort of getting the best of me, and I closed my eyes and threw a jab, and to my surprise, he was laying out on the canvas. So the sports announcer at the time said, "Man, that guy hits like an earthquake." So people started calling me Earthquake from 1983, but actually before that, I had a dream, and in this dream, the ground was shaking. And a voice said, "Because of you, the ground is shaking. Because of you, the ground is broken." And I believe God really gave me that name first before the people in sports arenas.
Okay, but you just don't look Irish to me, Earthquake. Where's the Irish coming, Kelley?
Well, I traced my family tree back all the way to Ireland through the slave trade. It was a man named John Kelley who was in Ireland. He left Ireland, went into the Caribbean, bought some land, had a plantation there, and from the slave trade, that's where we got our name from.
And your great ancestor, who you came from, was African, and she was involved in voodoo. And
right.
Mr. Kelley did not have a good time because of this voodoo. What happened to him?
Well, my people, people from way back, they put a curse on him, and it's historically fact throughout my family tree that. We know about the curse that was put on the Kelley lineage there in Haiti, and all his crops started to fail. So he decided, well, I'm not growing anything here, and he took some of his slaves and went to New Orleans, believing that he was going to get away from it. And of course, some of the things happened down there. Then he went from there to Texas, and that's where my father was born, down in there.
Okay, so here you are with this voodoo heritage on one side, and your father marries a Pentecostal Christian. What a combination.
Right, he sure did.
So there's kind of a tug of war on your life, but your father doesn't even want you to be born. He tries to get your mother to have an abortion.
Right, my mother tells the story, and she said, "I waited till you got grown to tell it," and it was really hard on her to tell me, but she did tell me. She told me the story, and thanks be to God, she said there was another hand inside of her. She could feel another hand inside of her preventing all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, when she went to the abortion clinic and they were giving her these shots and these needles to kill you,
the shots are still
she was being supernaturally protected.
That's right.
But your father, he took matters into his own hand. He beat your mother. What did he do to her?
Well, what she told me, it was pretty rough. He would beat her, and he did some awful things to her, trying to destroy me on the inside. But still, God said no. No, he has a purpose for me, and I survived by the grace of God.
So you survived, you're born, and obviously you survived, and but your father starts beating you. Why did he dislike you so much?
I have no idea. I have no idea, really. All I know is just the beatings kept coming and coming, and thank God.
He would beat you with the belt buckle? The
buckle, yeah. The buckle many times.
And I understand from your book that the doctors didn't even expect you to survive too long.
No, they didn't give me much chance. They said if I lived to see the 9th grade, I'd be an old man. Okay,
so according to my notes, it's amazing. At 4, you start taking drugs. Your brothers are selling. At 5, you see your grandmother use voodoo against someone, and what happened?
He dropped over, just keeled over. And that's really what started me being interested in it, because I said, wow, what a lot of power for somebody to say a few words and a grown man just fall over backwards. And that started me getting interested in it, because I didn't even know that, You know, there was that much power in it. Except what I saw on TV as a child, but now actually seeing it with my own eyes was like, wow, I wanted some of that.
Did you try it?
Oh yes.
At that young age?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What happened?
When I said the words that I heard, it felt like something started swirling around and got on the inside of me, and these things got inside of me, and I became possessed, and it started a spiral of going downhill from then on.
I mean, you became. How old were you when you had a gun and were working with prostitutes and
13. 13. I worked with
you lived a whole life by the time you were a teenager.
Yeah, life of a 50 or 60-year man before I even got into my teens. Yeah, that was a dangerous thing to do, to work with the prostitutes, and had to go to each one of the dates with them and sit there with the pistol and make sure the guy paid. I was only 13. They started working on my mind after a while. So I started going really crazy after.
What happened when your dad brought home a witch to mentor you? What was she mentoring you for?
She told me that I, being from Haitian background, and that I was to be sent down to Haiti to work on the Papa Doc Duvalier, to be raised up under the president of that country, to control the people through voodoo. And so at the time I was for it because that power thing, and I was preparing myself to go.
What was your preparation like? How many hours a day did you put into this?
Well, not so much the day, mainly the night, because I didn't get much sleep. Because there's something about what they call the bewitching hour, which like 12 o'clock to maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, which a lot of the evil things are being, you learn a lot.
Well, she would give you, this witch would give you the names of demons that would then inflict
about
harm on people?
Oh yes.
So you would just call out this name, and then evil would happen to people.
You can send things to people, right?
But what happened, wait till you find out what happened when he tries to use this power against some real Christians. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hello, Sid Roth here with Earthquake Kelley, and Earthquake, it's pretty fascinating. This witch moves in. What'd your mother do about that? What about your brothers and sisters? You were, what, the 7th child? Mm-hmm. But did that have significance?
Yeah. They in voodoo, they deal with numbers just like we do it as Christians, but they copy everything that God has. So they wanted the 7th child. Me being the 7th child, they picked me to go and down into Port-au-Prince and City Soleil and live down there and to work with the president of that time, Papa Doc Duvalier. But thank God I had a praying mother, and she's still praying. Thank God for that.
Okay, so you're being equipped by this witch to be, I guess, some sort of a priest with Papa Doc Duvalier in Haiti. And how come you didn't go there?
One day, my dad, the witch, and myself, the witch packed my suitcase from the little brown bag. She packed it. She said, "This is a day for you. I'm going to take you into Manhattan and put you on a boat, and we're all going to sail down to Port-au-Prince."
Did you want to do this?
Yeah, I wanted to do it because I was into power at that time, because I was watching some things happen. Man, some things really take place in that realm. And when she told me that I can have free course down in Haiti, I was all for it. With the power, with the money, with the control, being a child, being over a lot of grown-ups, stuff like that, that sort of excited me. And when the day came for her to take me away, they was going to sneak me out the back door, put me in the car, and take me into Manhattan, put me on the ship. I was going to sail down into Port-au-Prince. My mother came out of nowhere. I mean, came out of nowhere. She saw us sneaking out the house, and she said, "Where are you taking my baby?" And the witch said, "It's no longer your child, he belongs to me." And my mother said, "Oh, no way." And my mother grabbed me by the arm and was pulling me. And the witch was pulling me, and I was going back and forth like a tug of war. And something happened to where they got me away from my mother. They were going towards the back door. And before they can get me out the back door, it's like they both saw something that was so big and it scared them. They let me go, and they ran out the door. And I don't know what they saw, but I believe it was my mother was praying, and God must have sent an angel that prevented them from taking me down to Port-au-Prince.
You know what I also found pretty interesting about these two powers that are sort of in competition with each other is this witch used to put curses on people. And you broke into a realm where you could leave your body. Explain that.
Right. I can astral project. I could throw my hand through glass and not be cut. I could put a match under my hand and not be burned. I could do all kinds of different things. One particular time I had a couple of friends of mine who went and got saved. And I mean, they were really saved. And I didn't like the idea they got saved because I felt like they left me there in that realm. And so I sent out a couple of spirits after them. And I said, you go there and you curse them. You destroy everything they're doing. Those little spirits came back to me and they said, we can't touch them. I said, go back and put a curse on them. I command you, orders you to do so. And they came back to me again and said, we can't touch them, they're protected. So I astral project out of my own body and I went to see the reason why I tell these spirits, and they come back. And I know I sent them to do other things and they never had a problem. So I went to see for myself. And when I got there, I saw the two brothers who were walking around this particular place, and I saw these 7, almost 8-foot tall angels with swords was protecting them every way they went. And I said, wow, that's the reason why those spirits came back and couldn't do anything. These guys got something way stronger than I have. These guys were protected. I mean, protected by giant angels.
I'm curious. Why in the world did your mother stay with your father with these beatings? I mean, how bad did he beat her?
He beat her to the point now where she doesn't have any sight.
Why did she stick around?
Back in those days, Sid, you know, it was different from these days. They taught you to stay with the man for the children's sake. And a lot of the old school women, they did that for the sake of the children. And my mother was one. She was one that believed that.
Okay, these spirits are communicating with you now on a regular basis, and they even taught you as a young child how to get high off of a melting, a plastic gun?
All kinds of stuff. I won't go into say what it is because, you know, in case somebody want to hear, but all kinds of different things. See what happened, I wanted to shoot heroin with my brothers. I used to watch them tie up and get ready and hit the main line and stuff like that, and I wanted to shoot that. I was only about 4 or 5 years old. And they said, you're too young, you can't shoot up right now. But I really wanted to, and they said no, and they pushed me out of the room. And so I heard this voice says, oh, you don't have to wait for them. I'll show you what to do to get high, this voice. And I could feel a presence right over my shoulder, and he showed me what to do. And so at like 4 years old, I listened to this voice, this evil spirit, and I started what's called huffing. They call it huffing.
Well, let's fast forward, though.
Okay,
so this voice teaches you how to get high as a kid, how to put this stuff together. You hear this voice again that tells you how to get super high.
Super high, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I was 15, just turned 15, and this voice said, "You've never really been high. So why don't you get this real super high so you can brag and boast, you know, tell all your friends and all the drug people in the community, the neighborhood, in the hood, that you can hold your dope." And so he told me what to do. He told me to get the cocaine, the weed, the tools. There's some pills, these tools.
15?
Yeah, 15.
And this voice tells you to put all this stuff there. What were the pills?
There's some pills that is so strong. You take one pill, you cut that in half, and you cut that half in half, and it'll keep you high for 8 days. Just the half of the half. I took about 3 or 4 of those, smoked some weed, about $500 or $600 worth of cocaine all at one time. And plus some beer, and I hated beer, but I was at this bar, sitting there at the bar, and the guy said, "We're going to drink or go home." So the guy, I think it was a part of the enemy too, for this guy to know I was underage, and he still gave me the beer on top of everything else I'd taken. And then I overdose of drugs. Stopped my heart. It was just too much.
Well, that's what the devil wanted to do. He wanted to kill him because he knows he's making an earthquake now for God.
Thank God.
Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hello, Sid Roth here with Earthquake Kelley. Demons told this 15-year-old kid how to get high. Their intent was to kill him. He had 4 different drug combinations in large quantities, and he took it, and he passes out. And his buddies, what'd they do? Take you in a car? And what did they want to do with you?
Just take me home.
What happened?
Well, on the way home, I died. And these group of spirits came out, the same ones that were talking to me, came out and grabbed me and snatched me out of my body and was pulling me down. I mean, I was going down into a pit. And then when I got to this pit, they started tormenting me. It looked like they was coming from everywhere. They were in my mouth, they were in my eyes, they were hitting me with all kinds of things. They were yelling and telling me that I worked for them and it was a trap and a setup and you did all our bidding for us and now you're in hell. And it was a horrible thing. And
were you really in hell?
I was in hell. Hell is a real place for sure. It's real.
Huh.
It is real. It's not made for us. It's designed and made for the devil and his angels. And that's where I wind up at. That overdose of drugs was a trick from the pits of hell. To get the drugs were a trick that set me up to stop my heart, to get me lost for eternity.
What did you see?
Oh, I saw all kinds of horror, miserable. It's a lonely, miserable, ugly, stinky, sulfur, smelling, nasty, pitiful, horrible place that you can't even hardly describe it.
Did you hear people say anything?
Oh, you can hear all kinds of promises and people screaming and yells and sounds that just torment 24 hours, 7 days a week of nothing but misery and torment. And I was down there amongst them with them and all that torment. But there was some hands of light came down inside of that place, in that pit that I was in, and grabbed me by my shoulders and started pulling me out of there. And I could see, and even as I was pulling out of there, said those spirits were still trying to hold on to me, saying, he's ours, he belonged to us. But that hand of light pulled me and took me out of there and put me back in my body. And it says, because of your mother's prayers, that's what I'll never forget, you were spared. And because you were chosen to do a work for us. So, but he kept saying, because of your mother's prayers.
Who was saying this?
That was God's voice. That was God who said, because of your mother's prayers. And that's what I heard. And then I sat up and I said, oh God, I've been to hell. And at that point, I didn't even know to thank God because I was so wicked, that's such a wizard and everything like that. But I knew that something had happened.
But you were still, you were kind of messed up physically.
I was messed up really bad. I was messed up, and my mind was messed up, the optic nerve, because it messed up parts of my body. I realized I couldn't walk. And so when I came back into my body, the people that was driving the car, they opened the car door and they said, get out. And I tried to walk, but I fell over to the ground because the lower extremities didn't work. And so I had to pull the top of my body all the way up the stairs. Then I rang the doorbell, and one of my sisters came to the door, and us, bringing from that background, they know an overdose because we had many people to die and overdose in and around us. And she could tell.
Okay, shortly thereafter, one of your sisters invites you to church.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing drug deals. Mm-hmm. I mean, even seeing how could you still be doing drug deals?
Messed up in the mind.
Okay, so you go. Why did you even go with your sister?
Because she kept telling me, you need to be saved. And at that time, I didn't want it to, even though I just went to hell. But there was a big shipment of drugs coming in, and my cut was $1 million. And at 15 years old, $1 million, could have bought an extra hamburger or something, so. Okay,
you get into that church. I mean, this is the only word I can come with. This is crazy. You get into this church. What happens?
I get into the church. I'm sitting in the back. She convinced me to go. I'm real mad because I didn't want to be around Pentecostal or anything. I'm real mad, and I said, sit me in the back. So she sits me in the back. And the preacher is preaching, and I said, okay, good, I'm finished. The next night, she said, oh, you going back? I said, no, I'm not going back to church no more. I'm finished with church. And get out here, I got the drug deal, big one, the real big one, the biggest one we ever had. She said, no, you're going to church. So I said, okay, I'll go to church. About 2 or 3 days of that, the preacher said, hey, you, back in the back, young man. And I didn't know he was talking to me. I thought he was talking to somebody else. So everybody in the church turns around. So I turned around too and said, hey, young man, he's talking to you. But there was nobody else back there but me. I said, oh, man, he's talking to me. And so he said, come up here in the front. God wants to save you. And I said, oh, man, I got mad. I said, I don't want this Jesus stuff. I got things to do. But I heard a voice that I never heard before. He says, I love you. You remember when you had the gun to your head and the gun wouldn't go off, but it went up in the air? He said, that was me. You remember when you were almost killed? You remember you were set up to do this, and that drug deal went bad, and this, that, and another. He said, all those times I saved you, I spared you. He said, come up here, I want to save you and use you. And I got out of that seat, went to the front, And the pastor told me everything that I've been. He told me like he was there with me as I was growing up. He gave me all. I mean, he just read everything off to me. So you were this. You put curses on people. You did that. He told me everything. I said, how'd you know all of that? You don't know me, But it was God that told him. And at that time, God was speaking to me too. At the same time, He said, "I'll use you. I can do more for you." And I said, "Holy God, hold it, hold it." I said, "You know what I do? I do bad things to people." I said, "But if you want me, you're going to have to do more for me than I was for the devil, because I'm a wicked person. I put curses on people and they die, and I do bad stuff." But thanks be to God, Sid. He saved me. It's like a ton of bricks fell off of me. And I tell you, He's been using me ever since.
Do you know who the real hero is?
Oh, thank you,
the
Jesus.
real hero of Earthquake Kelley's story is his mom. If
Yes.
you had known the beating she went through and how she tenaciously held on to God for Earthquake's life, let's go to a pre-recorded telephone call we had with her.
I am a mother of 10 children, 5 boys and 5 girls. And so I'd like to say now to the mothers, please do not give up. Pray for your children. We need the children. The children are blessings from the Lord. God is such a loving Father, and He listens to what we say. He knows our hearts. He has our feelings. There's always a God that stands waiting with His arms stretched out. He loves you. He'll hear your prayers, and He will take care of your children. Father God, bless the mothers with a mind stayed on Him. Amen.
You may say, well, that's wonderful. I don't have a mother that is praying for me like that. I don't have a hero that is calling and pleading with God. Well, maybe you don't. I come from a Jewish background. You better believe my mother wasn't praying to God for me, but someone somewhere did. And just in case you don't know who's praying for you, I'm going to pray for you right now, just for you. It's not an accident you're watching. I pray that the spiritual scales come off of your eyes. I pray that you experience the acceptance and the forgiveness that Earthquake experienced, that I have experienced. I pray in Yeshua, in Jesus' name, that you would feel God's embrace. I pray that you would recognize God is too good to sin against. And if you tell Him you're sorry for the mistakes that you've made, no matter how big they are, God will wipe them away. It's too good because God is love. You've never experienced love. I pray for you that you would know the love of God and experience the shalom, the peace of God that passes any drug or any experience you have ever had. It's what you're created for, to have intimacy with God. Intimacy with God through Jesus. That's the deal. Take it. Grab it.